Good news. They managed to keep Jeremy Crawford talking about a D&D product under 10 minutes. This has got to be one of the 7 signs of the tabletop role-playing game apocalypse, right? They managed, or maybe this latest version of Crawford has actually been programmed to actually be presentable as opposed to the previous background versions. I don't know, man, but this whole thing, under 10 minutes. That's Crawford, under 10 minutes. Unheard of. What are we talking about? It's 12 noon. I'm drinking water. It's second day of October here in Site B. It's a lovely October afternoon out there. Plenty of spooky shenanigans going on. And Crawford has come out and said Planescape is D&D in a 7-minute long interview talking about Planescape, the final product. I mean, we don't really count the deck of many things because I don't even know what that is. The final product for 2023 is Planescape. The end of the 2014 to 2023 D&D multiverse ends with Planescape. And Jeremy Crawford loves Planescape. Apparently it's his favorite setting because everything that you can encounter in D&D, you can encounter in Planescape. We're not just talking about how the city of Sigil is a multi-dimensional trading post that allows you to interdimensionally communicate with multiple other universes, but the Planescape, which is what the D&D multiverse has been all about for the past, 10 years. Because, you remember all the times we've talked about the D&D multiverse since 2014, right? I mean, the 2014 Player's Handbook, that was all about the D&D multiverse, right? And look at all the products that came out between 2014 and today that focused on the D&D multiverse. I mean, there's Ravenloft and the Magic the Gathering things. I guess those count. Eberron, the Critical Role stuff, Radiant Citadel, Spelljammer. So yeah. But now, finally, the accumulation of the past 2014 to 2024 build, we're finally releasing Planescape now. And it's going to be maybe the core setting for D&D 2024, or maybe not. I mean, they have tossed out the word world agnostic, and they have tossed out of the words multiverse and stuff like that. So I mean, Planescape is going to be the new core setting because it gives you a city where you could technically meet anybody, and it gives you a building block where you could run whatever you want, and you don't have to justify it because, well, it's out there in the Planescape. I'm waiting for you to come to the same conclusion that I am. Okay. If this is what Dungeons & Dragons 2014 to 2023 was supposed to be, why was Planescape last? Why was Planescape last? Time and time again, you have heard me say the 5th edition engine is perfect for anything but D&D. There's plenty of other systems that would have worked better with the 5e engine. 5e is not D&D. It never will be D&D. It is a completely separate game. It is a great system. I love the 5e system, but it's not sword and sorcery Dungeons & Dragons, okay? You don't have to agree with me. That's fine. In my personal little view of the world. Therefore, Mr. Crawford, by your own words, the very initial core setting for 5th edition in 2014 should have been Planescape, or at least some hint of Planescape, because if D&D from 2014 has always been what you're claiming it is now, Planescape would have been the perfect setting. And the mechanics and ideas of Spelljammer and Planescape are much more appropriate for what the 5e engine allows you to do. Okay, the 5e engine was never appropriate for King Arthur. It was never appropriate for Conan. It was never appropriate for the Forgotten Realms. It was never appropriate for Ravenloft. Eberron, yes. The Magic the Gathering settings, maybe. Planescape and Spelljammer, perfect. Well, we already know you dropped the ball on Radiant Citadel. We already know you dropped the ball on what Spelljammer should have been. Apparently now, instead of the idea that Spelljammer is going to be the core setting and every other world is a world you could reach via spelljamming, no, fuck that. Instead, we're saying that maybe always what we intended is that Planescape was supposed to be the core setting. And maybe he doesn't actually say this. So don't get mad at me. Don't say, oh, you said no. At no point in time does Crawford say Planescape is the core setting for 2024. He says that 2024 and Planescape are being created at the same time, which would go against him talking about how they've been working on Planescapes in 2014. He goes about how it's his favorite setting. It's his perfect setting. It's the setting he feels best grabs the idea that in D&D you could run any type of fantasy, which is, of course, something we've been doing since day one. Basically, Planescape gives you freedom to homebrew. You don't want to use Eberron? Don't fucking use Eberron. Maybe we'll release a 2024 D&D version of Eberron. Maybe we won't. But Planescape 2024 allows you to explore all those worlds. It's the back door to Eberron. It's the back door to Spelljammer. It's the back door to Greyhawk. You use that word back door a lot, Mr. Crawford, don't you? This fucked never ages. I mean, look at this guy. He never fucking ages. And he always has this shit-eating fuck you grin. Like, I fucked over your hobby. Look at my millions. Ha, 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 ha. Like, he's got that cat in the canary, And you watch him on, like, have you ever watched when he was running Acquisitions Incorporated? And just what a condescending little prick he was. I mean, Acquisitions Incorporated was never about the audience, never about the players. It was always about him when he was running it, which I'm so glad that Perkins is back running it. Or I thought he was, but apparently now he's not. Yeah. So, I mean, this is not the guy you want being your mouthpiece for D&D 2024 through D&D 2027. So, my favorite setting, according to him, the setting that lets you do everything you've ever wanted to do with Dungeons and Dragons and meet everybody you've ever wanted to meet in Dungeons and Dragons. And according to Crawford, this is what D&D has always been building up to. We talked about the multiverse in 2014 D&D, but in 2024 D&D, we really want to focus on that Dungeons and Dragons multiverse we've been talking about for the past 10 years. All those multiversal products we've made, like Ravenloft and Eberron, and those Magic the Gathering books. Yeah, those, right? Spelljammer? What the fuck was that? Radiant Citadel? That never happened. It's always been Planescape. Okay. Well, Mr. Crawford, thankfully, Wizards of the Coast has made the table of contents for Planescape 2024 available. So let's just take a look and see how much of what you're talking about is true. Okay, so Planescape 2024 should enable us to have a backdoor, he sure says that backdoor word a lot, to any other D&D setting that has been published, right? Okay, so here we go. Here's the list of all the factions and all the places. Okay, the Outer Lands, Gate Town, nope, Automata, Bedlam, Cursed. There's a world called Ecstasy, Excelsior, Fannel, Fortitude, Gorlum, Hopeless, Plagueboard, Ribcage, Rigus, Sylvana, Torch, Tradegate, Zos. Those are all names I am extremely familiar with. Those are all universes we visited before, right? Yeah? No? Okay. You know what I'm not seeing here? Radiant Citadel. No mention about Radiant Citadel. How about, nope. Okay. So Appendix, Radiant Citadel? No. All right. Well, here we go. The Other Realms, Caverns of Thought, Court of Light, Durendus, Flowering Hill, The Great Pass, Gersamede's Maze, The Hidden Realm, The Labyrinth of Life, The Mausoleum of Chronosis, Morden's Anvil, Realm of the Norms, River Mutt, Samsung Bog, The Spire, Thebestus, Valley of the Spine, The Walking Castles, and Wonderhome. Backdoor to all the existing Planes universes, backdoor to all the worlds that we've already made. It's all been building up to Planescape, which is why we saved it last instead of making it first. Which would, if they just said 5th edition is Planescape, people would have been fine. People would have been fine. None of the anger and hostility that you perpetrated against 5e and against other people playing the other games would never happen if just day one, 2014, Planescape is the core setting. So, yeah, no, where's Ravinica on here? Nope. Where's Ravenloft? Nope. Eberron? No. Witchlight? No. Greyhawk? No. Ravenloft? Ravenloft. I mean, there's got to be a link to Ravenloft here, right? You said it was yeah. Radiant Citadel. The connection between Radiant Citadel and Planescape, the trade routes, how to get from Radiant Citadel to Planescape, right? How about how to get from Planescape to Spelljammer and back and forth, and how they compete with each other and how they supplement each other? No. Okay. So in closing, in this announcement, this corporate little shill of his, one, it's always been about Planescape since day one. Mind you, Planescape was one of the universes we were never going to revisit. His words. About 5-10 years ago, you go back and it's like, oh no, Planescape, Eberron, Ravenloft, we're never going to do this again. It's all about the realms. It's all about the new edition. Planescape may or may not be the core setting for 2024 through 2027 D&D. It fucking should be the core setting. You've already dropped the ball in Radiant Citadel and Spelljammer. Here's your chance to give a setting that fits the system and basically says, homebrew the fuck out of it. Run whatever you want. Take what you like and take what you don't like. Here is a core setting sigil from which you can spin out any story you want. Because how is Sigil any different than Waterdeep, right? It's just a gigantic trade city filled with a bunch of people in costumes. So, yes. This should be, according to what 2024 D&D is going to be about, it should be the core setting. It should be the open to the D&D universe. You shouldn't give us any more setting books. I don't want to see 2024 Ravenloft. I don't want to see 2024 Magic the Gathering. I don't want to see 2024 Greyhawk. If by your own words, then 2024 through 2027 should all be add-ons to the idea that Planescape is the new core and the realms are just part of it. Eberron's just part of it. Ravenloft's just part of it. And we might do little 10-page admin things that you can pick up for, a couple bucks on D&D Beyond. But no, everything else should just be adventures and source books, right? But not like a source book that's entirely dedicated to a deck of many things and a very annoying woman's claim that she reinvented the wheel that is D&D. D&D didn't exist before me. I'm Mackenzie. Right? By Crawford's own words, mind you, we can't take Crawford on his words. This is the same man who said there is no canon, and this is the same man who said we will never revisit Planescape, we will never revisit Dark Sun, we will never revisit Greyhawk. All I want, by your own words, Crawford, all I expect to see after the 3 core books come out in 2024 is things that add on to the idea that the core setting is Planescape and that we now have this place where we can meet and run whatever we want because that's what Planescape allows you to do. The trouble, of course, with that statement is Crawford is again saying in his usual slimy way, nobody did that in the hobby for the past 50 years before he said you could. Right? That's Crawford's reality. Once Crawford says you can do something, he's the first one to say it. Just like Mackenzie is the first autistic person in the history of the hobby. Crawford is saying for the first time, you could have, a D&D world where they run into Sam and Dean from Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz. If you want to have a D&D plot based upon the movie Excalibur, you can, because now I'm saying you could. Because no one did that before. At no point in time was the idea that here's D&D worlds where you could just throw whatever you want in. Nobody ever did that. There's no such things as like Rifts or Torg or Warpwood or the Doctor Who role-playing game or Teenagers from Outer Space or any of the other thousands of other games that have explored this, Fringeworthy, Time Bandits. No, this is the first. This is the first time Wizards of the Coast has ever done this. Therefore, it's the first time you as a player have the permission to enjoy Jeremy Crawford's favorite world the same way he does. Now, all my sarcasm and bullshit aside, I'm just going to end this with, right now, Planescape 2024 looks harmless. Okay? It just looks like a harmless gloss over. If you want the real Planescape, you can get it for $14 PDF on drive-thru. There's plenty of other supplements out there and support for the Planescape that was. This looks just like a harmless field guide to the other planes that we don't really address. I mean, it's a field guide to the other planes, but where's the elemental plane of water mentioned on here? Or any of the other actual planes? They're not on here. Instead, you made up a bunch of new ones. Where's Witchlight? Where's Ravenloft? But fine. I, as a fan of D&D, I, as a fan of the 5e system, again, I have no problem with the system that is 5th edition. It's not Dungeons & Dragons. It cannot emulate the Dungeons & Dragons experience. Nor should it. It is a completely separate game for a completely separate audience, and that's fine. I love 5e for what it is, but it's not D&D. Here's the perfect setting. Here is the perfect setting. And according to Crawford, it's always been there. It's what we've always been saying since 2014. At no point in time have you ever actually said that until today, Jeremy, but apparently you've been saying that since 2014. Fine. Okay. 2024 going forward. System meets setting. Perfect system, perfect setting. Fuck Spelljammer, fuck Radiant Citadel. Let's start over with Planescape, and let's see if over the next, 4 years, you can somehow fix the disaster that you've spent the last 10 years making the tabletop role-playing hobby. So when D&D 6X June 6, 2027 happens, those of us who love the hobby can say, oh, there's finally a D&D that I could appreciate. You finally found a system and a setting that works with the 5e engine. I am perfectly happy with this being the game that is 5th edition. It's not D&D. We all agree that it's not D&D. It is a completely separate beast, which is perfectly fine. There's no trouble. I have no problem with the 5e engine. And now finally you have a setting that is perfect for the 5e engine. So going forward, that is what you should embrace. The ridiculousness, over the top, anime Saturday morning cartoon energy of the 5e engine, which is perfect for Planescape and all the other stuff. I mean, as long as you gloss over the whole Lovecraftian horror aspect of Planescape. Now, I'm the OGGM. Do you appreciate what I'm saying? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? You know what? The table of contents is up on every website that covers this. You can look for yourself, see if I'm lying. Show me where I missed the mention of Ravenloft or Radiant Citadel. The interview with Crawford is up on a bunch of different sites, so you can listen to it too. If you come to the same conclusion I do, great. If you don't, let me know what you think. This is what I'm saying right now. Based upon what Crawford's saying, this is what I, as a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, as a fan of 5th edition, would hope that they do with 2024 D&D. Yes, make it all about Planescape. That's what it should be, because then the engine of 2024 would work. You would have a setting that embraces that engine, and you would have an engine that embraces the lunacy of the setting. At least that's what I think. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'll talk to you later because my phone's ringing.